Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weiser on the East Coast. And we have a game 4, 2-1 is the series lead right now for the Denver Nuggets after taking game 3 there, holding the Heat there to roughly 94 points. They did not score very much there. Got a few at the end. Either way, we're going to be looking at some game 4 stuff here. Like I said, got best bets in this video for you. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page and follow along. We also have our play props up as well. So check those out. We're getting to things a bit early here. It is Thursday. It's still morning time on the West Coast. So we're getting ahead of some of these early lines here before Friday night's game. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Check out all of the great content on the site right now and use that odds finder tool we have up there. A nice chart right there in front of you. Make sure you're getting the best odds available to you from all the books that are giving us bets this postseason. Looking really quickly at the way that we did last time. Pretty good on best bets, right, Nate? We got 3 of 4 there. I believe Gabe Vincent let me down. But other than that, not only do we get a few of the things right there, obviously Denver over as well. But we've got some stuff alive here for Jokic leading scorer and Nuggets to win. Nate has that bet still in progress, and a few other futures as well that I'm sure he'll briefly mention for us at the very least. But let's jump into your first best bet for game 4 here, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, the big future that's intact, if you guys followed it, is Denver to win 3, lose 4, and then win the next 2, and then win in exactly 6. There's various odds on that we suggested taking, and we suggested not panicking on the Nuggets after they lost game 2. Now, I think your biggest concern with that is that they don't look like they're going to lose another game at all. But I'm not picking a winner here with this first bet. I'm just going to do a nice same game parlay. What I feel is pretty safe because I think the roles have really been solidified even more and the minutes have been solidified more for these guys. So I'm going Jimmy, Jamal, and the Joker to get 25 points and Bam to get 15 plus. That's plus 300. I would go with the unit or just one unit on that. I originally had the same parlay with Bam to score 20 and Jimmy to score 20, but I think that's the thing that scares me the most is Bam to keep scoring 20. That's not his game necessarily. We're seeing more of Jimmy being aggressive down low as this series is becoming more and more about who can score down low, and Jimmy's getting that cross match on Jamal and taking him down into the paint. And that's how he's able to get, 28 last time out. Still did not play particularly well and owned it in the post game. But what you like to see from him is the increased usage and the increased aggression after he goes 13 points on an 18% usage rate in game 1. Then we go up to 21 on 27%. And then this last game, he had a 33% usage rate to get those 28 points. And Jimmy, we talked a lot throughout these playoffs about late series Jimmy, elimination game, closeout game Jimmy, and what he does. And this, everybody seems to agree, is pretty much an elimination game for the Heat. You cannot go back to Denver down 3-1. So we'll just briefly look at what he's done recently. Game 7 in Boston, 28 points. 24 to close out the Knicks, 42 to close out the Bucks. Last year, he had 35, 32, 36 in these spots. In Game 5 of the 2020 Finals, when the Heat were against the wall, 35-point triple-double. All of these basically with a usage rate of 31% or higher. And so as long as he's trying to shoot the ball that much and Denver's shutting down three-point shooters, I think Jimmy and Bam will be forced to score a lot more on the inside. So I think they're getting pretty good odds here. And then Denver scoring inside at a ridiculous rate with those two guys leading the way. 60 paint points last game, 58 rebounds to 33 for Miami. We talked about going into that game how Miami actually really struggled to keep Boston out of the paint, keep Boston off the boards. And sure enough, Joker just dominates in that regard. He's getting 25 in his sleep right now. It's a question of, how much more than 30 he might get. His last 5 road games, he's averaging 34, playing 41 minutes a game. Jamal averaging 30 and on 30% usage rate. And the Nuggets offense has been better on the road in these playoffs. Jamal, just rounding it out by talking about him, he came out on fire. It just clearly had to be aggressive and was. And, it's just pretty clear, the usage rate, 37% in the second half too. Not only did he set the tone, he closed it. for Denver when there was the inclination that Miami might do another fourth quarter comeback. He was just like, let me hit a couple big shots here, and it's over. So you love to see his poise, his aggression, and more importantly for these bets, it's like this is almost a Phoenix Suns situation, Josh, where it's like Durant and Booker are getting 25 points because nobody else can score on this team. And the Nuggets are now at this point with MPJ fading into oblivion, with KCP unable to get open against this Heat team. Those two guys have to score, have to do the bulk of the scoring. And Michael Malone clearly is willing to just run everything through them and play them 42 minutes, play them the entire second half if necessary, because this is the freaking NBA Finals, and they're the greatest two-man game in this game right now. So let them go to work.
100%. I mean, this is a lot of work for the plus 300. I mean, everything you said is spot on. The only thing that does worry me, to be honest, is Jamal 25, only if he's going to have a random game that he slips up. I just don't understand what happened in game 2, which is still fresh in my mind. But I think feeling him for game 3 was the play. We should have harped on a bit more a point that you made about him scoring a ton of points after he goes for less than 20, which he did in game 2. So the game 3 outburst seemed like we should have probably hit it harder, to be honest. But it doesn't mean that he's not still very capable of it. I do agree that it's kind of like, just let's stop trying to get cute with certain guys that aren't four of the one of the 4 best players, the 2 on each team, right? I completely agree with looking for ways to get all 4 of these guys to get points. And that is kind of actually why I can segue nicely into my bet of under Miami team total 104.5 points. So yes, I think Jimmy and Bam are good to get theirs. In fact, I'm going to talk about Bam Adebayo to score again in game 4. But that doesn't mean that I think Miami can still get over 105 points. And I think it's because of the fact that Denver's sort of established what they're going to do on defense. And I think it's the smart move. I think it's the thing that has been talked about here and there, but Miami does such a great job with their motion on offense and the way that they play together. Obviously, they can find open guys and they don't need that much room to shoot. So it's easy to say, oh, just take away their shooters, let them have what they want inside the arc. It's easy to say that, but there was still a lot of sort of gamesmanship and crafty sort of motion offense for the Heat that I think the Nuggets were struggling to figure out. And one of the main things that we have been saying was stop doubling Jimmy Butler 18 feet from the basket. Stop doing it. And they did it one time in the first half, and they called a timeout right after they did it. Murray and Jokic went bananas, yelling at both MPJ and KCP. Michael Malone was just coming on the floor going, get him off, just get him off, and just freak it out. And so that didn't happen again, right? Where they left Jimmy, and he got his. He ended up with 28 and did a lot of that in the second half as well. Once they really established, like, no, we're going to literally run at guys, just completely sell out entirely on the 3-point line. And that was obvious in the way that Strus, Vincent, Kevin Love, even Duncan, even when he was hitting those banana threes fading away from 35 feet in the fourth quarter, they were still contested. All 4 of those guys only had 3 or 4 uncontested field goals, which by definition is like 6 feet, at least 6 feet between you and the defender, which is still like a guy running at you, but you have some time to shoot it. So 3 or 4 each, right? And you expect them to make about 1 each. They even probably did. They each actually only hit 1 of those uncontested free field goals from wherever they were, 3 or 2. Whereas in the prior game, they were just getting left open for 3 way too often, including in game 1. They just missed them in game 1, made them in game 2. But if you just take all 4 of those guys out in terms of just sell out, you face guard them essentially. Like you treat Jimmy Butler with the same level of respect you treat Max Strus when he's coming around a screen, and you just sell out to it completely. And that's been a huge part of it. And you're not getting any rolls from Kevin Love when he's setting screens on guys. It's not like he's really moving to the basket very quickly these days at all. So Jimmy and Bam, however, they both had at least 14 uncontested field goals without a defender, with a defender like not even near them essentially, because they're just basically sagging off at that point, sagging off Bam more, still guarding Jimmy one-on-one with the various guys they're throwing at him. But if it's going to become two-pointer versus two-pointer versus two-pointer versus, who do you think is going to win that battle? You've got a guy in Jokic that can just get to whatever he wants whenever he wants, and if you double or triple team him, he's passing over it for a cutter, for a layup as well. So 60 to 34 was the points in the paint there last game. They're not getting anything in there. It's still little bunnies and things of that nature from outside the paint. And they relied on 17 points off of turnovers in game 3. They got 19 in game 2. That's a big reason for them getting all the way up to 111 in game 2. And the 17, while they still only scored less than 100 in this last game, right, leaves you feeling like, okay, in game 1, only 9 points off of turnovers because the Nuggets were actually taking care of the ball a lot better. And if they just go a little bit in between there, get it to about 12 points off of turnovers at the most, and just rescind that a little bit, I think you're going to see it's a lot harder for this Miami team to score because I'm not believing in the role players as we kind of get closer to the end of this series.
Yeah, I mean, you said it's kind of like our two guys are better than your two guys. And if you want to try to play that battle, the two-man game, and see who can facilitate and create inside the arc, and we're not going to let anybody get a good look from 3, like that's going to be the coaching staff's emphasis, then it's going to be a low-scoring game. I mean, the pace is like 90 the last couple games in these finals, and I was foolish enough to parlay the Nuggets win with the over, and it's just like Miami just could not come along. I do think there's some regression in terms of Jokic suddenly turning into Dikembe Mutombo guarding the rim in that last game. Like, that was just some unlucky shooting from Miami, but Vincent did look a little out of rhythm. Strus can be taken out of this. Caleb Martin, I'm still not sure if he's really back in this series. So it is, to an extent, it's like, I don't know about the Heat's role players, even if Jimmy and Bam keep it going like they had in game 3. But yeah, I mean, we're mostly off role players here, except this gem, the Kansas kid, Christian Braun, comes off the bench with 15 points and was the third best player for the Nuggets, and an absolutely vital spark plug. And as much as MPJ is going down in terms of favor with the coaching staff, Braun has to be going up. Like, this is not a fishy bet to say 10 plus points for Braun. FanDuel's offering it first as a special here, plus 650. I don't know what his actual prop is going to be yet, but they're offering plus 650 for 10 and plus 2,300 for him to get 15, which is what he got in game 3 in 19 minutes, 7 for 8 from the floor. As everyone keeps pointing out, he took 1 3, it clanked off the side of the backboard, and he said, enough with that. I'm just cutting to the basket. I'm just attacking. And he is strong going to the basket, which is like exactly what you need. You know, the Heat always talk about playing with force. You have to meet their force. Braun is a really strong kid and really competitive, perfect, really off-ball complement to Joker and Murray, who are seeing relentless doubles now, right? The Heat were blitzing their two-man action, the DHO, whatever else they could to try to get the ball out of their hands. And Murray, several of his assists just right to Braun. He had 71% of his twos off assists. He had 93% of his points in the paint, like I said, just attacking. And Denver had 60 paint points because Miami, even though Bam is great, he's basically the only one who's going to stop you at the rim. Like, if you're going against, and Braun was not afraid to go right into the chest of Jimmy Butler either, for what looked like an and one as well. So, I mean, 19 minutes, that should go up, to be honest. And I don't think he's going to stop attacking the rim on the road. He's a guy with championship chops, like I said, with Kansas last year, all the way to the national title, double digits in 5 of those 6 games, and finished second in field goal percentage in the Big 12 in college when he was shooting a lot more threes. But now I think he understands his role really well, which is just to play off those guys.
Yeah, it's Christian Braun. We do know that, and so I'll just make sure that you know that as well. But it is Christian Braun. Either way,
I'll say
that was impressive. Are you still seeing that? I just double checking to make sure that I can find what you're saying, because I think they might have taken it down briefly on FanDuel. Maybe it's just a state kind of bet as well. That is specific to an area. Either way, if you can, whenever they come up, they will come up. They might just be down for a second for whatever reason. Maybe people were hitting his points too hard.
FanDuel doesn't have their individual props up yet at all. What they have is like some specials. Like most of them look like long shots, like Joker 40 plus, 16 plus assists, and then it just has Brown 10 plus points. I would be all over that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. It's not even under the regular points. You got to go to the sort of specials that they're offering, which is funny. They're making Christian Braun a special at this point. Yeah. He got a ton of minutes that MPJ just forfeited by being terrible and not even shooting the ball, which he was 0 for 2 on some decent looks, but also just actually really good looks in the corner, but also was just, once again, a minus on defense. It was like we spent a couple weeks talking about how much better he had gotten on defense, and he goes, no, I'm still not good at defense. I thought he was going to come back with a bigger game. I thought he was saying the right things after the game 2 that he played like crap and really receded back to some of his bad habits. He kind of came back out and was saying the right stuff, which he doesn't always do. Even that, it's, he even pretending to say the right things, he just kind of usually sulky, and he wasn't that way, but he just was sort of unplayable. I only got the 21 minutes, and Brown, not only did his confidence just continue to rise throughout the game, as you saw. Not only, he missed the 3, but then he was driving and dishing to Jokic twice, and getting assists that way, and then obviously finishing around the rim at that point and going up. That stemmed a lot from his defense. He became the primary defender on Jimmy Butler for a few possessions that actually he looked really good because of his length and his strength. Being able to guard Jimmy a little bit better, at least bother him a little bit more than other guys who can't even get up into his grill enough. So I think that might afford him another 20 minutes, to your point. And with this juice on this and what we just saw, like, I have absolutely no problem following that with a little bit of a sprinkle on those. So I'm going to find one more way to fade Michael Porter Jr. Because I know you're going to talk about that in player props, and I'm definitely going to steal some of your notes. But I'm looking at a head-to-head bet between he and Gabe Vincent, and it's 3-pointers made, and it's Vincent to have one more than him, essentially. It's minus 0.5, and it's plus money. It's plus 110 for that bet on DraftKings, which I believe is the only place you find these head-to-head bets. I haven't been able to find them anywhere else. So enjoying taking advantage of these, because I think you look at the attempts to start with. What happened in this last game? 2 attempts for Michael Porter Jr., partly because he's just not playable, like I was just saying a second ago. So with the 3-point attempts that he took in this last game, I think you can rely on it being under 4-ish for him once again. And Gabe Vincent, meanwhile, who has been taking close to 7 or 8 a game, he still got off 6 in this last game, only made one of them. Obviously a very poor shooting night for him, only 2 for 10 from the floor. But I would say, that was hugely due to the fact that he had 3 personal fouls in the first half, and that really threw him out of his rhythm, really threw him off of his game. And he wasn't really able to get anything going past that into the second half, and still didn't really get that many good looks. So the 34 minutes that he played in this last game are less than he should continue to see, considering that he's been playing 37, and the limits in the first half that he saw were the reason he played like 5 or 6 less minutes than he normally plays. So the ability to get up closer to 9 threes, which he's also taken a number of times in the last 5 or 6 games, should be back for him. And the minutes should be a lot more than Michael Porter Jr. So for that alone, and the fact that I still think he's as good, if not better, let's say as good of a 3-point shooter when they're both not in slumps, as Michael Porter Jr. is, I think the attempts will just be there for him. And you can bank on like at least 2 for Vincent. And I'm not sure if MPJ gets more than 1.
Yeah, this is kind of a cheat code right now, is just head-to-head with MPJ if this trend continues. And what it looked like is, he's young, he's got fragile mindset to a degree. Like Mike Malone's approach to call people out and whatever he did privately as well, it did not work for MPJ. He played much, much worse. He played with no confidence on the offensive end. And like Josh said, more lapses on the defensive end that just led him to get yanked. So regardless of whether he's due to bounce back as a 3-point shooter, he just might not play many minutes, especially the way Brown and Bruce Brown were playing. Like, they have options to just yank him and play much better in this particular matchup. He hasn't been good against the Heat even in the regular season. Yeah. And Vincent, he had an off night, but he will continue to fire. He has the heart of a champion. You do not need to worry about him being fragile in terms of his mindset. And I think Kyle Lowry isn't really going to be good to go on an every other night basis. Like, he also hurt himself a little bit. I would not try to target him on short rest. So even if Tyler Hero comes back, I think that'll replace Lowry's minutes in production a little more than Vincent, who I think, is still good for those 32-ish minutes.
Yeah, 100%. And there's some true stuff in there too, where I think like he's another guy I don't think is impacted by Tyler Hero's presence if he is back for Game 4, which it still doesn't look great for him. He could be back, and I don't think he gets more than 20 minutes anyway. And like you're saying, like if Lowry is banged up the way that it seemed like he had to come out of the game after really just stretching his groin there when he slipped at the very end of the game in garbage time. And then his minutes are the one really going towards Tyler Hero more than anybody else. So we'll see. But either way, that is all the time we have for you in the Best Bets video. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Check out the play props that we have up for you for Game 4 as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.